What's up, folks? And welcome back for another review here at Big Gold Belt Media. Nigeria, and finally, it's been a while since we kicked it. Me and Miss Maya.
It has been a while.
To handle, yes, it has. Getting ready to handle Couples Therapy Season 3. I got to make a few disclaimers before we get into this. First off, I'm gonna keep it 100% transparent with you all. So we had this early, and if you've been following the channel, you know we were covering a bunch of things. And this is one of my favorite shows that I've been watching since season 1, the COVID special and all that other stuff. And this is like one of them shows I just consume and I just kind of kick back and enjoy. I have a lot of commentary with it while I'm watching it. So it's just not one of them shows that I just wanted to say all right, let's do a review about it. But I will say that upon getting this early, so I did get a chance to check this out early, and we just kind of sat back and was like, wow, a lot of metabolizing the things, the conversations, the sessions. I felt like I was with Dr. Orna myself
the whole time.
I'm like, man, where's my bill at? Because I can't believe I got this for free. So now we're here finally because we got to, like I said, get this through our system, get our notes together, get our mind together to be able to talk to this about it. Because for me, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of this was deep, this was heavy. It was things I needed to hear, just things I could relate with, and I'm not afraid to say that at all. But I really enjoyed this season. They really brought it. I'm so glad that they were able to get back to their traditional format, considering the COVID one and how COVID was doing things digitally. It didn't feel as intimate as it used to be in the first season. So coming back to it, things just felt really real again. So I was happy about that. Last disclaimer I'm gonna say, folks, we're going to provide commentary. Please do not look at this review. Do not get in the comment taking what we're saying as some bit of expertise or education. We're not therapists.
Not medical professionals
at all. None of that. None of that. We go to therapy, but
absolutely.
It's not like we're coming in here telling you all what you should do, or if what we're saying should be classified as deemed a fact. It's just an opinion.
Just an opinion. Okay.
Just an opinion. So this is available now on Showtime. All 9 episodes, I believe it is. They're a little less than 30 minutes. It's a easy binge. But you may find yourself pausing because it is a lot to consume emotionally. If you have any bit of heart for some of these couples, some of the things they're going through, because people are legitimately pouring out their emotions, and you may find yourself absolutely vulnerable, and you may find yourself vulnerable. You may find some truth. So, just be aware of that. But season 3. So, Amaya, we got 4 couples. We actually had 7 couples, little if you know. I mean, that the other
the bits and pieces. Not the 3 throwaways. Those were the 3 possibles. We playing spades, so we got 4 couples and 3 possibles.
True that. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little intrigued with them. I was like, you know what? I wouldn't be too opposed if we had got one of those couples. So, but we did have 4 couples throughout the entire season, 3 other ones. But of the 4 throughout the entire season, who you want to go to first? What couple?
Man, let's do Ping and Will first.
Oh,
Ping and Will, married 7 years. I had a lot of so have you seen that meme or the gif with the little boy in the black shirt and the red pants where he turns around and he's like, that was me. What the hell is happening here? Wow. Okay. So I'm just gonna get first impressions right here. So first impressions, Ping is a total asshole. That was my first impression of mine. And Will definitely came off as this sweet, kind, tender, man. And the whole time, you see the dynamic in the beginning, you're like, dang, why is she so hard? She says some really terrible shit to that dude. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking to myself, there's another layer there, obviously, because as somebody who's in therapy, I understand that when you're lashing out or you are, experiencing something, usually there's something underneath it that's causing you to act the way you're acting. And
Yeah.
I couldn't see that, but I was like, man, please hurry up and get to the part where we can dig deep about what's
Yeah.
going on with Pain, because I'm like mortified with her right now. And Will is there and he's like crying and he's like, but I'm trying, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And it was interesting because probably like a few episodes in, I started to think, what are you trying and what are you doing? Because there's a lot of doing, but something is not lining up here. Something is not connecting if she's not feeling it or seeing it. This couple probably was like a nice what's that? It's like a volcano with this couple. That's I'm gonna give everybody some sort of emoji. They were the volcano emoji. Do we have volcano emojis?
I think so. So I got to be honest. Two things. I legit do not think that Dr. Orna has ever suggested somebody should split. That right there was already like a wow moment. But I have to say, I came into this and I said, oh, they're not making it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to kind of make with this. Like you said, they've been together for 7 years, but Ping is malicious. And this, again, just this is my commentary. This is my feeling about it. And I hope you all also jump in with your own commentary in the comments. But do not direct your comments as if like I'm speaking of fact, because I'm going to be kind of raw here with this. She not only comes off as toxic to me, but she comes off as vicious, because they're in therapy to find resolution.
Right.
And I also feel like in this, especially in their situation, maybe a bit of empathy for one another, especially considering their past. And it's interesting. You brought up the part of like him crying, and then he kind of looks over her and says, I'm sorry. And then she's kind of like, whatever. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then the moment that she tells him to shut up, I'm like, if you can talk like that in a session, I know you're at home going off.
Oh yeah. At one point in time, she said literally he was talking about his mother, and what she said, okay, and so what? Because your mom didn't hang you out a fucking window. And I'm like, well, are we comparing how bad situations are? Because that's not what therapy is supposed to be for, Ping. Like,
yeah. Like her response to that was literally like, okay, so yours mean nothing because I went through this. So you're not. She didn't validate his feelings, and not only didn't she validate your feelings, she completely just. It was non-existent. Of what he's been through. It's kind of like, okay, cool, but your mom didn't do this,
right?
So therefore, I deserve to feel this way. And now, she started using the word. All I hear is whining, and then she's telling him he's just a little boy and all this other stuff. She belittled him. So I am under no circumstance do I look at him as wrong for shutting down. As a person that's been through type of verbal attacks like that, what more do you want me to do? I've already put myself out there, and you even in a situation in a place of establishment where you're trying to better yourself, and you still want me to be more vulnerable just so you can continue to hatch me down with your acts. And then what am I supposed to do after that? And then I'll let you go. But then she starts saying like, and then I want to be done. I want to be out of this.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is essentially, if we're looking at this, right, we're going to say over the course of maybe 2.5, 3 months, right? So for the first month, they spent that with her basically just like shitting on him. Like, okay, I call bullshit. Like, I mean, I don't care. Like, he's just whining. Like, you know what I mean? So if you're doing that for, let's just, like you said, this is what we're getting on camera. Their sessions are an hour. Okay. This is the course of 1 month. This is 30 days. If you have 4 sessions, 30 days, that means the other 26 days you spent that off camera telling that man how he probably ain't shit. Yeah, I would say that after 30 days of verbal abuse, considering that he probably was taking that abuse beforehand, he was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I don't have anything left to give. But I think it was in that moment where he knew that the relationship was done. and they were just going through the formalities and the motions at that point. But I do think that it was very interesting. I mean, even down to, and here's what did it for me when I'm talking about the background story of Ping, right? She talks about Korea. Oh, he said, well, we were supposed to go to Korea together. We said we wanted to do it together. And then at some point she said, well, I wanted to go and then I didn't want to go. And I think it was something in me trying to do it for the past. So he goes, he comes back. Now she's throwing a fit because he's like, well, the kid in me wanted him to stay, but the adult in me wanted him to go. And the tug of war in that, you know what I mean? It's just so crazy how things in your childhood still affect. And I took notes because I'm serious. Watching Dr. Orner, I'm just like, I need to fire my therapist. I don't think this is going the way I wanted to.
She $500 a session plus. That's what it is.
I'm hip. I'm hip that she's definitely not cheap, for sure. But I think the thing is that she asked such amazing questions to get them to talk to each other. You know what I mean?
I wanna come back to that in its own entity. So definitely highlight that in your about that, because I definitely want to come specifically to that. I got an extra little bonus part for that. A couple of things I want to continue to talk about with Will and Pink. So her childhood, I think the trauma that she's been through is completely valid, but I don't think that means you basically treat Will. Somebody else. Yeah, it does not permit you to treat other people like shit. It doesn't.
Right.
And her dealing with her anger and whatnot, she says that she's trying to come to terms with that. That's part of being in therapy, but also the whole thing is that you're supposed to be working together. You're not supposed to be working yourself up to put him down. And she still was taking moments of saying oh, he's just a kid. Just because, and I hate that comment, because just because of what his hobbies may be or how he goes about things, we can see that he's a little
whimsical.
He's jokey and whatnot. We gotta talk about the wink thing, but you can see it's not malicious. I think it's just who he is, and I don't think that's right for her to kind of come at him like that. But I want to go two things to the North Korea, to the Korea thing. That's bullshit, because saying one thing and meaning another is completely manipulative. If you're just I'm not mad, but then you're really mad.
Yeah.
So you're basically stripping him the ability to diagnose or assess the situation with truthful eyes. Because if you're saying that it's okay and he thinking it's okay, then it's okay.
Right.
But you can't say it's okay, it's not okay. I thought it was okay. And it's nah, it wasn't. What? And then it was only 4 months since they had been together. They had planned on doing it together. She's oh, the kid in me saying this. The kid in me was don't hold him back, but I really didn't want him to go. Honestly, again, transparency. And that's a huge issue. But the other really, really big thing I want to talk about here is them coming into the situation with the foundation of that they're serial monogamous daters.
And then open marriage.
And then open marriage. Now, this right here is crazy to me, because and she explained it exactly right. It's hard for him to find partners, so she helps him. She gets a bunch of partners, and that's what it is. And he did not like her having feelings for her partners, because everything he was saying, I don't want you to cuddle, I don't want you going on long walks in the park, all that other stuff. She's saying yeah, if you need sexual pleasure, then go do that, but then pack up and roll. You're not spending the night.
Yeah,
that's just what it is. And if that's what it is, then you can't be trying to seek out these little, mini pockets of safety all over. To me, this comes off as this. It's clear that she constantly seeks validation, because that's all she kept pointing at with Will's. Doesn't do this, he doesn't tell me this,
he doesn't appreciate me, he doesn't make me feel special. Yeah, but
he gives everything to everybody else, but not me.
But I think that's also because she doesn't feel like she had that in her childhood, in those other years, teen, whichever years you want to you want to talk about. I don't think she had that. And so going into a open marriage as somebody who is not confident, like who doesn't have that, I don't think it's healthy, right? And then you're serial monogamous. So you know what it's like to be in a relationship one-on-one. And now you're trying something that essentially isn't really working, and somehow they thought that it would. It was a very confusing situation. At one point, Dr. Oren said, "You want to be, like you want to be connected to him, and yet you guys both created this dynamic where you're outside searching for things through other people, and so it doesn't make sense because it's the opposite of what she needed, considering she felt like Will did not make her special." That's what Dr. Oren was saying. And it makes sense, because how can you feel special
if you're not being exclusive?
Right. I mean, like, we know that it can be done for certain people, but not everybody is the same. And I think that's the key thing, is that you can't do what everybody's doing. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you.
Exactly. I think she never desired that. I just think she found sort of an obsession with the attention she's getting from other people. She's like, I can get all these things from all these other people. I want it from him, but I also like this as well too. And it's like, you know, we're exploring things, and like exploring things. I mean, Dr. Oren even brought it up. That kind of means different things for different folks, but you already assessed it for what it is. It was never to be attached to anybody else. But then you keep doing it, then it becomes an addiction to the point that you're like, oh, I'm really digging this. Like, I really like all this attention that I'm getting from everybody else. And Will, on the other hand, never wanted it, but in a state of, well, if you're doing all that, okay, then I'm going to try it. Right. And then he tries it, and then she's like, nah, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like, now you out doing things, and like, oh, you can't do that. The other bit, because I don't want to dwell on that too long, but the other bit is that, well, when he went to Korea, it's pretty safe to say that he found peace when he was out there. He just went out there and he was like, listen,
possibly.
This is happy. Like, this is what happy is. Like, I found it just on the other side of the world, you know. And, you know, he comes back, and I feel like him being the victim of verbal abuse, I think he shuts down, because, like, why? Why would you ever allow yourself to be open when you got somebody that's going to constantly do what she's done to him? Like,
right.
I think telling him to shut up in a session, you're just whiny. Man, you're just whiny when he's opening up his feelings.
Yeah, they were, you know, I love how Dr. Oren shut that down, though, when she was like, so what we're not going to do is be abusive to one another.
Not here.
That's not helpful. Not here. And so she tried to come back out, and she was like, no, look at me, Ping. We're not doing that. Like, and then she was like, okay. And so I found it interesting. And of course, the main part that also needs to be talked about too with them is the sadomasochist part of the conversation that happened. And I was actually like really interested, because I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I heard it, I felt like I knew a little bit, but I was like, oh snap, you know, the power thing, and how she gets loud, and she's basically overpowering him. She's trying to show him like who's boss. And then Dr. Oren went back and talked about her childhood in regards to her feeling like she had to what's that word, tell her mom, like, no. She basically, like, her mom was trying to make her yield, and she was like, no. So now she has this rebellious sort of personality that's like, you don't get to tell me what I can do, I get to tell you what you can do. And I think it may even come off a little bit as, I'm gonna get you before you get me type of thing. Like, I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yeah. I forgot about the wink though. I thought that was what you were about to say. But yeah, when she started to talk about when she started to come out of her shell, and she wanted to like flirt with him and whatnot, and she's doing all these things, and then he looks over and winks at her. This seemed to be a huge conflict, because to me, what I got from her is that, like, oh, I did this and he didn't respond the way I wanted, so that's not right. To me, I'm like, well, Will's awkward. So a wink was his way of flirting. Right. Everybody flirts different. there's folks that will literally, I mean, we can go as far as back as elementary school, the girls or the guys or respective, whatever, that bullied you.
Yeah.
I always had a crush on you. Damn, you had a really weird way of showing it, but that's just what some people do. Everybody has weird ways of flirting, you know?
Right.
And I think that winking, if you don't like winking, then that's fine. If you have a problem with winking, then that's fine. But that does not mean what he did was wrong.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it wasn't what it was. Like winking, like back in the day, like whistling, I find to be disrespectful, but whistling used to be a form of flirting. Yeah. Winking literally was a very traditional style of flirting. So him winking is just an awkward thing. I mean, people do all sorts of other different things to kind of flirt and whatnot, you know, and I don't think there's one right or wrong way to do it. I just think you need to assess what somebody may do. Some people dirty talk, but also some people are offended by dirty talking. So like you just, you know, it's just I think
she, you know, like you said, she just wanted it to be her way. And she, you know, I put in the work, I've read the book, you know, I've done this, and now he should reward me. And a wink ain't it, you know. But I can also understand her side as well, because when you're trying to connect, eye contact is really big for some people. And I know that for me, I always remember my mom used to tell me like, oh, if you don't make eye contact, people can't trust you. They feel like you're, you know, like, and I'd be like, I just don't want to stare at you for this whole 20 seconds. Like, can I blink and look over here? You know what I mean? Can I do that? But you have to like, I think that they were both in a space of like, I'm just done. Like, I'm exhausted. And when you're exhausted and you don't have immediate results because it's not a microwave situation, then it comes off as like, he winked at me 8 times and there was a time and a place, you know? So I think they were just both, this was their last hoorah. And
yeah, it sucks that like when two people are done, and I mean she just gave enough content that she was done. I think he was there trying to see what can happen, but I think she was already out the door. And it sucks that like to come to a platform like that and to not being able to really find any bit of peace is, you know, it's upsetting a little bit. And I know Dr. Horner kind of feels defeated herself because she wasn't able to provide sort of solution going forward. But like he said, yeah, like you said, there's different means of done. She just hoped that done doesn't become like this negative thing for the two of them. So you know, I never thought they were gonna work in the beginning, and well, there's one check in the right column for me, and I didn't want to be right, but that's just what it is. But like I tell you, to me, I sympathize with Will in this couple. I'm sorry, just the verbal abuse alone is just way too much. And when you come to a place like that to try to work on it and you're still doing it, I mean, flat out kind of even disrespectful to Dr. Warner too. Like, you come in my place talking like this?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm glad that she grew, but like Dr. Warner said, it's very possible that you can be getting better for the next person. So
yep. Anything else you want to add to them?
No, I think that, you know, this is the best decision for them both. And I think they both still have individual therapy and things to uncover, because my last comment will be something that Dr. Orna said that is going to stick with me. I want to go back and talk about your childhood to figure out how you got so perfect in this role, because you've been rehearsing. God damn, mic drop. And I know there's some of us who need to hear that, because how did you get into this role that you perfected? You had to have rehearsed it in some other part of your life. So what part is that? So I'm gonna tell my therapist that tomorrow.
All right, so who do you want to go to next?
Let's do Cyn and Yaya. Cyn and Yaya.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna see about this one with you. Okay, so 2 kids, been married 18 years, right?
Been together for 18 years, been married for 8.
Not intimate for a year. They have 2 kids and they're trying to figure out, you know, how to work their way back to each other.
Time out. What? Nope. I knew you were gonna go that way. First of all, this is completely BS right here. Coming off the break when they're talking about why we're here, and when they ordered the steps as to why they're here, the first option was, oh, we'll split. Second option was like, well, open marriage. And then your third option was like, oh, we're going to see if we can find ourselves back to one another. That's your third option?
Well, that was that. I wonder if that was their thought process or if that was Cyn's thought process.
Oh, because talk to me. Oh, yeah.
Because I definitely felt that Cyn she was very like, what's that word? Not present. She was absent. Very
She didn't
disconnected.
Have a voice.
Cyn didn't have a voice?
I'm sorry. Yaya didn't have a voice initially, but go ahead.
Cyn to me came across very disconnected, very unsure. And what stood out to me was when she said, I didn't even think that we would be here. Like, I didn't think that we were going to get married. Oh, I didn't think that I was going to take you seriously. And I was just like,
She's been disrespectful. Out of 8 or 9 episodes, she was disrespectful with little tidbits, about 7 of them. She said some things that was like, what? Yeah, she definitely said some things that was just like really, really messed up. All right, I really want to get in here.
No, go ahead, jump in.
First of all, I hope Yaya doesn't get canceled because she made that comment about being Somali and skinny, and I said, bro, you better be Somalian because that is a
I definitely I was cringing at that.
I was like, what? But anyway, my thing is that I don't feel like Cynthia is honest
Cindy.
At all. Cynthia, Cyn, whatever it is. I don't think she's honest at all. At all. Completely lying the entire time.
Really?
I nothing about her comes off sincere to me. She first said that like, oh, I thought I was going to be a hoe.
Yeah, she did say that.
And I'm not going to hit them with no Project Pat or 3-6 Mafia. I'm not going to hit them with that, but y'all know what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to hit them with that right now. But she said, well, we started. I don't know exactly what it is, but I'm just going to just lay it out like this. They said one thing led to the next step, then the next step, and then the next step, and then we got married.
Yeah.
I'm so unconventional. That's so conventional that I'm so unconventional because I do not believe that relationships should be this order of steps as to how you're supposed to do it. And she laid that joint out like this was a map of how this is what it means to successfully be together.
But whose idea do you think that was?
Oh, I know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying stuff like that is like alarming to me. Where it's just like, oh, well, we've been dating for a year, so I guess we got to do that. 2 years, guess we got to do that now. So like the way she said that, and again, Yaya doesn't have her voice here, so it's interesting how she's receiving this. And Dr. Orton even said like, how is she just taking this? And I think that Yaya not only not having a voice, but I also think her idea of what marriage is like to stick by your partner, even if it means sacrificing yourself. And that's, I think that's a reason to go to therapy. I think to unprogram that way of thinking, because I think a lot of us at one point thought like, oh, you're loyal to a fault.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, when we talk about this, right? So of course, Cyn says she's thinking about the open marriage. Yaya immediately says, well, a monogamous relationship is not sleeping with other people. That's not intimacy if you get to sleep with X, Y, and Z. And, of course, Cyn proceeds to say that she's not attracted to Yaya.
You're like, bro, come on
It's in that point where we see Yaya kind of like, and so they go into this breakdown situation. I think that they both needed therapy individually. Absolutely.
I thought that too at a point. Yep.
And I'm watching as Cyn talks about the molestation with the uncle that happens, and then Dr. Orn actually brings in the peer review, and they say that it's possible that Cindy thinks that Yaya is a bystander because in in a molesting space, it's the perpetrator, the victim, and then the bystander. And the bystander was, Cyn's mom. So all these things, and then of course we go into Yaya being in perhaps a dissociative state, which is what Dr. Orange said. And I think that Yaya is one of those people, and I don't know, I have to like go back into my notes, but I'm thinking that I feel like she's one of those people who I don't want to cause ruckus, right? But I also don't want to be stepped on. But I don't know how to do that without causing a complete shit show, like as far as the fireworks going off. Because I think she's spicy, because she just started showing up. When she started showing up, she was spicy. So I think that she just needed a little bit of a push, which is also due to her issues with her family, right? Because she said she didn't have a voice growing up, and her mom was, basically, doing all that extra shit for no reason.
Yeah. The whole comment also about, Cyn saying she wanted to see what else was out there. I mean, come on now. Now she's like 4 for 4. Yeah, like she's 4 for 4 with the disrespectful comments, bro. Like, no, this is your wife. Like you're talking like she doesn't exist. I mean, I don't know. But again, I don't think she's been honest the entire time.
So I will say this though. In therapy, you gotta be raw. I will say that. So even though the comments may have come off disrespectful, that was probably not the intent, but you have to be 100% raw, because if that is truly the problem, then Dr. Oren has to be able to really get down to the nitty gritty in order for them to fix it.
But again, some of the sayings of like, I'm not attracted to you right now. She said, well, that's not really a complete statement. There's something more to that. And also like towards like the end of the season, that's when Cyn started saying like, oh, I finally figured out how to be completely honest. Like I've been like saying things, but I haven't been honest. And like, like when I say like, oh, I have a crush.
Oh, I hate
and like I just make it seem like a thing, but like, no, it's a big thing. Listen, let me tell you what I assess with Cyn. I'm about to just stop beating around the bush. There's two things here I need to make of this. Number one, Cyn is clearly attracted in dealing with somebody else. I truly feels like she's been cheating. Like, did not have sex for a year? Come on now. Like, just Dr. Orner said it, so you ain't got to believe me. You literally just have to do it. Put yourself in a scenario. Go out, y'all. Get a hotel. Go out and have some drinks. Right. Do something. Just do it. Did not have sex for a year is completely blasphemy. It's no way that you are living under, and I get their house scenario is completely that dynamic. You got your mom in there, got the kids in there. I get it, but just go out and then y'all play volleyball, so y'all around other folks. But here's the thing: it's not that you don't phantom feelings and emotions, because Cyn already said like, oh, I found that girl attractive, so you're able to generate those type of things. So what's the problem with Yaya? You're not attracted to her. You didn't think you were going to be with her. You're not having sex with her. Oh, she's just this motherly figure. And a term that I learned recently was the Madonna horror complex, which is a very unique thing that I had never heard about. I got to read this again really quick. It's a complex in the inability to maintain a sexual aroused within a committed loving relationship. I get that. But I also don't truly even know if I believe that. I just truly think that Cyn just has a side piece, and that's why her emotions are fluctuating the way they did. So why ain't she having sex? Because, folks, you know damn well when you have sex with somebody, what happens? Especially the person you're trying to not have sex with. You regain feelings, and then you go back down the rabbit hole. Because you remember when they had sex and they came back saying, we're on cloud 9. Everything is so good. Yeah. She didn't want that. Yeah. She didn't want that. You know why I know she didn't want that? Because with them having the brightest moment of all their session, she still comes back and says, so by the way, when I need to be more honest. So like, when I say somebody's attractive, like it's I'm like, I'm really liking them. She's basically telling her like, yo, like if I'm telling you I like something, I like them. I'm out here like in a malicious intent, because like the streets are calling. She's like, it's wild to me, bro. And I think, yeah.
I don't know if I got cheating from Cyn, but I definitely got uninterested for sure. I definitely got uninterested and lack of desire, but that could come from a lot of different things. You got like you said, the house situation plays a lot in it. I mean, even as somebody who's not married and doesn't have kids, if I was an adult living in my mama's house, which I was at one point in time, like I'm not bringing nobody home. And even if I was in a relationship, it was so I can't imagine. But I think that there are a lot of different factors. But I do think Cyn also learned a lot about herself throughout the sessions, about the molestation, about her self-sabotage, because she is queen self-sabotage, right, at this point. If I'm taking, like from based on my point of view, I don't think it was cheating. I think she just knows, like, let me just find a way to get out of, to be honest, to get out of something that I probably shouldn't have been in to begin with. Because when you say, I didn't think we were gay here, I didn't think we were married, I don't know if she ever really said, like, I love you, or I think she did at the end say, I choose you. But it just seemed like it was a
formality.
It was weird. Yeah, it was a little weird. But I think that she was like, it was weird. I think that I would have preferred her to be a little bit more
vulnerable,
honest, and vulnerable, because I do think that she does love Yaya, but I don't think she's in love with Yaya. I don't think that she has that passion and that fire that she thought she was supposed to have in being with somebody and being in a relationship. And they went through the formalities. We've been dating a year, we engaged a year, now we married a year, now let's have kids. So their life is so step-like that I don't know where the excitement was in any of it.
I think they were excitement because I think that, like, they were living a good life. They had 2 kids. They were playing volleyball. They were doing things with other friends and whatnot. I think they like, let's be honest, the little B-roll footage we see of them in their home environment stuff, like, things look great. I think that what she sees in Yaya is safety and like stability. Yeah. But then she's like, but maybe I can get something else. And this is why I go about the cheating things, because, I mean, if anybody's been cheated on, how many times does those cheating situations happen where, like, oh, I made a mistake, I really messed up, like, I literally thought grass was greener on the other side, now I'm back at your doorsteps, like.
Yeah, I mean, well, the grass is only green when you water it, baby.
And the thing is, Yaya is not trying to let this go. She's like, okay, we just have some issues that we need to work through, so let's go to therapy. So let's do it. I'm willing to do the work. And I think Cyn got into this, but didn't realize that, Dr. Warner was going to crack her open. She probably thought it was going to just be on the front of this relationship and stuff. That's why these things that she's saying, like, I'm not attracted to you right now, and blah, blah, blah. To me, those are all outs. Mm-hmm. She's self-destruct. She's literally trying to implode this relationship and trying to break Yaya down to a point where she's like, all right, I'm done.
Right. But that's why Dr. Warner was calling her shit. And that's one thing I did like, is that she wasn't letting her have incomplete sentences or incomplete thoughts or be blank. She's like, no, there's more to this. So let me know. What's the more? Like,
crush.
What's the more?
Yeah. I got to tell you, and listen, the dog knew. When the dog went up to Yaya, listen, if there's anything that understands good and evil, it's animals. And she says, oh, they always go up to her, the babies, the dolls, everything. If that ain't the biggest red flag, am I wrong? Am I wrong? And animals know positive vibes, just like they know negative, and babies do too. She said it herself. She's like, oh, she's so motherly. They just always go up to her. So, the stock, yesterday's price is not today's price. Her stock went way up on that one. I'm like, you can't argue that. That's just what it is. Like, animals and babies, they know these things. And that dog went straight past her and was like, she's like, the dog is so happy. Even Dr. Warner was kind of like,
yeah.
She's like, Cyn, how does that make you feel? No, really, how does that make you feel? Because I'm sure she was thinking like,
I'm used to it, she said. Yeah.
That was it for me. That's when
Very
I stamped that envelope. I said, send this
Oh, it
one
was the
off.
dog for you. It was the dog
It was
for
it.
you.
It was the dog knew. But I'm definitely proud of Yaya for finding her voice and not being a pushover, because that was sort of her arc in this, is that like she came in kind of just this loyal, committed wife and just kind of just going with it. Then she started to speak up for herself, and both of them dealing with their childhood trauma, you know, working through things right now, having their mothers meet, having a conversation, having her mom come over to watch the kids. I mean,
big moment.
These are things, you know, they made progress, but like even in that progress, I still think Cyn, with all of these positive things going on, for her still to be the way she kind of was afterwards, I'm telling you, it has to be somebody that she's either interested in, or that's just a wrinkle in all of this. It to me, it just, again, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's just how I'm feeling about that. And the honesty is just not there. And I think that with her coming in, I think it was episode 8, and she's like, well, I just haven't been all the way honest. Like, and when she started bringing up the crush thing,
yeah.
You said it yourself. How do you come to therapy, but then you're still withholding half the truth?
Yeah.
That's lying for 8 episodes.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know, I was not surprised that they made it through and that they have decided to stick it out.
They need more work, though.
But they absolutely need more work.
That's where I'm at with that one.
They need more work, absolutely. All right, okay.
Right.
We good? All right. So moving on. Molly and Josh.
All right. This right here, 19 years together. This is the one. When I first saw them, I said, this is the show. This is going to be the one that truly defines this season. They been through a lot. Shit. This is the one that really hit me in the feelings. There was just a lot going on with this. Again, they've been together for 19 years. And as they both said, Molly and Josh said, we've been through everything. They both cheated. She was in 2 different relationships. One with her ex-girlfriend of hers. They were together for 2 months. So they came back in town, had dinner, and then they would just rekindle things, whatever. And then she was with her yoga student for 5 years. A bunch of miscarriages. And Molly didn't have an abortion. Right. And then an addiction to Percocet. Percocet or opioids still, right? Yeah. Which they then classify that decision of her having an abortion, which led to the addiction of opioids, because of Josh's infidelity. Oh, I'm sorry. Right. And then she had the car crash as well.
Right. Too, yeah, I'm about to say, the car crash.
So they had a lot. Their battle was about understanding how to carry this or how to leave this in the past. This is where Dr. Orner has to make her money right here, because this was the one that I was the most invested in, the most intrigued, and I really didn't know. I was emotional watching it. I felt for Molly, I felt for Josh, and I wanted to see them win. That was my biggest thing. I wanted to see them win, and I wanted to see how they were going to get through this, because this was the biggest uphill battle of all of the couples. So, what is your thoughts?
So, piece of me is gonna feel like an asshole for saying this, right? But for me, it was okay. So one, I did want to see them win for sure, absolutely. They have been through a lot. 20 years, almost 20 years of marriage. I cannot begin to imagine what that looks like, right? I think for me, upon initial view, first episode, for me, Molly seemed like a lot. She's very, I want to say she's probably an empath. She's very sensitive. She's emotional. And Josh just seemed very shut down, very unable to emote to what he's feeling. And I felt like he kind of felt overpowered by all of her feelings, that he didn't have space to show his. One of the things that she kept saying that really replayed with me was that she said, "I'm screaming." And I'm like, in a way, it's like throwing a tantrum, right? Like you're sleeping with other people, creating relationships with other people because you're screaming and you want him to see you, like you want him to do these things. And I agree with him at one of those points where he was like, well, what the fuck? You know, what you're saying to me is that had I done XYZ, you wouldn't have had these infidelities. And she kept saying no, that wasn't the case. And I was like, well, why would you keep saying that? You know, like I'm still here, like I'm screaming, like see me type of situation.
Yeah.
They have been through a lot. I think that they both hold it over each other's head invisibly, right? It's like an invisible cart or, you know, crate waiting to like just fall on the both of them. Um, for somebody who has, and God willing, will only experience one miscarriage, I cannot imagine experiencing multiple miscarriages, right? And I think that she was holding guilt, she was holding grief, and you know, so my relationship didn't survive my miscarriage, right? And I've never really talked to a lot of men, but I've talked to maybe one guy who's experienced a miscarriage, and they don't know what to do with it. They're, you know, because you're not the person who's going through it. Like you're, you know, as a woman, my body is changing. It was changing for the baby. Now it's changing because of the baby. It's changing after the baby. And so I think Josh, literally, when he was like, well, I felt helpless, you know, like you know, and I think that's a valid point. So I feel like they were both trying to connect with each other based on, you know, like because you can see that they love each other. They still have that love for each other, but they were just like, they kind of had like a hair trigger, you know what I mean? Like they weren't giving each other the space, even, you know. And something I kind of got, I was a little sad with Dr. Orner about was that I felt like Molly would cut him off a lot. I felt like she cut him off a lot, and he would be having these aha moments, and then he's talking, and then she comes in and she just snatches the moment away from him, and Dr. Orner kind of doesn't really say anything. And I'm just like, I felt like she needed so much space. When she said that comment, she was like, well, I just wanted somebody who would hold space for me. And I'm like, girl, you are a lot to hold space for, you know what I mean? And that's not a bad thing. It just means that some people's cup do not have the capacity to hold what you're asking them. And so I think the thing that Dr. Orner kept mentioning to her was like, but he's talking right now, when she tried to make a point, right? She was like, you know, because he was like, why are you shaking your head? And he was like, because I'm just so tired. Like, I don't understand, you know. And then Dr. Orner was like, well, understand what? And he's like, he doesn't talk. And then she was like, he's talking right now. Like again, cutting him off, not giving him space to have his moments. And so I can't even imagine what Josh, I'm surprised he's not drinking or doing something else, because there's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I kind of want to rebut off of this. You're right. I mean, like, to that last point, like, yeah, he's in therapy to open up. He may not have ever talked about this before, but we are actually, as the viewers, listening to him open up about these things. Mm-hmm. So her talking about him not opening up, but I just want him to open up. It's like, maybe if you just hush just a second, you'll hear him. He's talking. You know what I mean? The biggest thing for me, out of this is in pregnancy, and by all means, correct me if I'm out of line here. Try to be as considerate and kind of navigate through this as best as I can. In pregnancy, whether you have a healthy birth or any form of birth, should I say, and or a miscarriage, all of that still triggers, and should I say, for better or for worse, all of this still triggers postpartum. I think this is an extremely difficult thing for women. Extremely. I think it's got to be probably one of the most difficult things for any woman, any mother, to endure. And as a guy, there's no pamphlet for us in this. There's no resources for this. And every situation is completely unique. to Josh dealing with this, I think that, as he said, like, it's not because, let's be clear, it's not like he wasn't there. He just didn't know how to be there. And let's be clear now that Molly is super particular. You know, the same person that says, I want them dishes out of the sink every night.
Right.
And then the one night he doesn't do it, then she's on his ass.
Right.
But what about the 6 other times this week that I did?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you have to think that, like, she's going to look for a response, you know, in what she's going through in a certain type of way, a certain particular way. And he doesn't know how to do it. And I'm sure he tried, but it's clear he cares about her. And that's his kid as well, too. It's a great loss for the both. Although our bodies don't, you know, we don't have that. So we don't have the different chemistry going on because of the things that's happening. It's different for us. So we only look from an outside. We can only try to help as much as we can by whatever help means. And that's let's be clear. Help isn't always just like, hey, can I help you? Some people help is like, hey, give me 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do. And I think that, like, I feel like he absolutely regrets that he wasn't able to figure that out. And I think that that's why he says, like, I just really can't believe we went through that. I really can't believe that I just couldn't be there for her.
Right.
That bit of defeat that he said, I was hurt. I was like, I absolutely know what he's trying to say. He's saying, like, I was there. I was right next to her. I saw her every day. I just was never able to get through to her. And it's not her fault. It's not her fault. It's not his fault. It just shows you the power of therapy that they probably should have pulled this trigger a long time ago, because by going through that would have prevented all of the things coming before that. Dr. Orner can't say that, but by going through this, by coming to something like this earlier, would have changed so many different things. Oh, and I forgot to say, let's not forget about Ping and Will going through different therapists, and every single time they get one and she doesn't like it, she gets rid of it. Like let's be clear.
Are we surprised?
Yeah. She done ransacked through the therapist community in New York.
Not surprised.
But I think that, like, all the infidelity, all the different things, and, like, I do not condone cheating at all. But I have got to imagine that Josh, on the same extent, was just like, I don't know what to do. I am swirling. He tried to find home just like she tried to find home, because everybody, they just couldn't find home together in this point. And it's, again, to not condone cheating, but it's because that they was not able to understand the mental war that they were in while being in the war, while being on the front line of the war, at all.
But also,
is what I think would have helped.
Yeah, but also because when you have someone like Molly, and no shade, because there are a lot of them out there, right, who need it, her and Ping are in the same boat, essentially. They want it in a particular way. And so when you don't leave room for your partner to be them authentic selves, that creates a problem, right? So here she is, Molly's, I just want him to talk to me. I wish that he would just say, you know, like, no, I'm not doing the fucking dishes because I did them 6 other days. But, like, you can't tell that man when to say it. And now you're sitting here saying that if he would have said that you would be like, okay, well, now he told you that he don't want to do the dishes. And at the end of it, come on, I call bullshit the same way he called bullshit, because you have to.
Who the fuck she thought she was fooling with that statement, bro?
Everybody. You know, but my thing is, like, you know, some women, the particularness, asking for something in a particular way does not leave a lot of room for fuck ups. It doesn't leave room for forgiveness, for grace. It literally is saying you got to come this way or don't come at all. You got to do it this way or don't do it at all. Then you go into the, like, oh, I'm just going to do the shit myself. But then you're going to get mad because they not doing, like, you can't have it both ways. You can't. And so I think Josh definitely was a 6 out of 7 type of guy. Man, like, fuck them dishes. What difference do it make if I don't wash the dishes tonight? Is the world going to end? Are we going to end? And so I think that I hope that she can just relax on herself a little bit, because if she can relax on herself, she can relax on him. Right now, she's just giving my man the blues, you know, and and they both needed to connect with each other in a way where they felt seen and heard, but more so specifically understood, because they're talking in two different languages. They're emoting in two different languages. You know what I mean? So you really have to decide, like, okay, look, I know that I'm emotional or sensitive, and I am very verbal and nonverbal with how I feel, and I just tell me how I can create space for you to show a little something, something. And if I need to like be quiet for a second, that's why I really wish that there was part of the season where Dr. Orner is telling them they can't talk. Like one partner has to go one at a time. I don't know if you saw that. And I'm like, damn, I wish we could have saw like an actual piece of that, because they was itching. They were itching to talk. You know what I mean?
I mean, the editing of the show is sometimes a little wonky, but there was definitely one episode where like she was about to say something, he's like, nah. And then like the way they edited it, we could not continue to see her antsiness and want to do it. But
right, yeah.
But see, that's my thing about them coming together for therapy. Another couple I think probably could use this separately, but also together, because Josh needed to talk about his feelings about everything that they've been through.
Mm-hmm.
I think to have a safe space to talk about the abortion, the accident, the infidelity, and it's interesting, and like I'm not picking sides here, but it's interesting that they're calling Molly's relationships in his situation that he was talking inappropriate to somebody. So was he actually cheating, or was he just finding shelter somewhere where where he could be heard? To me, again, come to therapy because he wants to release these feelings because he doesn't know how to. And Molly, you can't release the Molly because Molly wants to be heard. Imagine that. This is why his whole dynamic of how do you feel, and he goes into protection of her.
Right.
So that means his feelings is just sitting here, just like pulsing in his body, and her feelings are just like this every time, out.
And but they said that they were boxing things up. They would box it up, put on the shelf, and like, and you already know what that does.
Well, he was doing that, not her. She's absolutely lying. She was not, and that's her whole thing. She said she wanted to come here so she can hear him talk about it, but then she started to cut him off every time because she was just so excited to get herself over at it. And again, this is why I said Dr. Orner was going to make her money here, because like you had two people who wanted a professional to help them understand what they're going through, and it's a lot. And I think, again, whether they hold on to the stuff, because Josh is obviously bothered by the infidelity as well too. I mean, he was with a woman that was with somebody else for 5 years. Bro, what? Okay. Yeah, 5 years, yo.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. But like you said, she wanted somebody to hold space for her, and she went and found it from a yoga student.
I'm not about to do this with you. I'm dead.
I mean, if that ain't the most stereotypical thing I've ever heard out of New York City, like I don't know what it is. You said something else though, and I can't remember what it was though. Something else you said. Really quickly, and unless you want to jump on this too, about them then wanting to consider to have another child
out there. Third child,
yeah. So but no, you said something else about them that I almost forgot about. I mean, I did forget about, and I forgot about it in my notes, but you said it reminded me of something. But anyway, what else you want to add to them, and maybe we'll trigger it.
Well, my last point with them is that, you know, Molly she is all about her time, and she needs it to be about their time. It needs to be on their time. It needs to be about them, and not just about her. And, you know, I think that just little things like that whole argument about the goddamn dry erasers. And I'm like, what? Like, you can't be serious. Like, this is what we're doing right now. Like, you know, so again, I think it's almost like she's making little things into big things in order to get a reaction out of him. And then when he doesn't give her that reaction, then it's like,
I do think that Josh was petty as fuck and extra for not just giving a color though. He made that way bigger than it had to be too. He just had to give a color.
Probably.
And yeah, I thought it was way extra. Like, bro, just give a color. Like, that's one of those ones, pick your battles or whatever. He made that extra. But I mean, Oh, I know what I was gonna say. This whole like her feeling a resentment. Like I thought that's such a what's the word I want to use here? I feel like that's such a almost like a primal statement because
Resentment and what? How he didn't respond?
Yes, and how she says like, oh, he didn't wash the dishes that other day because he resented me.
I do think that she put a lot of words in his mouth. She guessed a lot of feelings for him. You know, he's angry with me, and I know it. And although he did admit to being angry, but the way she was like, I just don't want it to come up at any point in time because I know it will. And I just felt like y'all are holding on to this shit. It's going to sit here and pile up if y'all don't let it go.
Yeah. Also, like his feeling of saying he's angry, I don't think it was like the act of anger.
Yeah,
I think he's internally feeling angry with himself, but like not in the act of aggression, which is two different things, And also, like when she tried to define everything she was going through, everything he was feeling, when Dr. Warner had said something that he agreed with, she's like, and I bet you he's gonna say it said, I bet you, and then Dr. Warner look at her, he says, no. So I don't know.
I was happy about that.
Yeah, I was just like, bro, that's such a complete wild thing. And I just be clear, I feel like a lot of her mental processing going on with how she kind of views the world, especially with her being a yogi, and that bit of education and lifestyle. So I see why she looked at things very deep in the way she does. But like,
she's an empath.
I absolutely agree, and I also think too that it was something else, and it just keeps slipping my mind. It was something else that I was like, I kind of understand where she's coming at with stuff. Oh yeah, and then the other thing too, because like I guess she's feeling like a whole lot of like everything she like in that household, like she's constantly the one having to make all the decisions, and that's kind of like tolling for her out the wild, and like at least he can do his kind of input and whatnot. So like she's trying to get him to chime in on things emotionally and whatnot, but he hasn't. He's been kind of locked away with that, and I think that like I can see how that can cause like a bit of
but
friction.
I think that if you start something right and it becomes a pattern, and then you're saying that the pattern is okay. So at some point in time, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, you saw that this was the pattern, and you cannot get to year 20 and now start. You know what I mean? You and maybe she did talk about it beforehand, but they've been through a lot. So I also think that they need to possibly just sit with I won't say sit with the grief. They need to release the grief, right? So whether that means like balloon releasing or bonfires or whatever, I think that she might need that more than he does, but I think that they need to like really release the grief of what they're holding on to with the infidelities, the miscarriages for sure, the abortion for sure. Like those things are hard, and I can't imagine like how she's handling them. And I think that's part of her overspill as well, because the emotional toll that it takes on you, and anything at any moment can trigger that, and you're completely unaware. You think that like grief is an ongoing process. You know what I mean? Like I had a moment on Mother's Day just passed, had no idea why I was feeling sad, and then it dawned on me because I hadn't reached out to anybody except for my mama and my grandma. That was it. And I thought to myself, damn. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm having a moment of grief, and so to go through that multiple times, beyond me. But I think that they have a love that we did not see in the other two couples that can absolutely sustain and withstand it. They still of course need to continue their journey to do the work. But I think that they are in a good space, and that as long as they meet each other where they are and learn that they are emoting differently and are talking differently, that they can find common ground to be, to last forever. And like she said, the next 50 years. So
yeah, absolutely. I truly sympathize for Molly. Just unimaginable events that she's experienced, and the two of them, I absolutely wish them nothing but the best. And I'm glad that they were able to come there and seek sort of the I don't want to say therapy, but there's another word I'm looking for. Rehabilitation, excuse me.
Mhm.
There's the word.
Rehabilitation,
That they needed. And I think again, this was just a lot of processing, grief, internalized feelings, and things that had never been talked about. And they came to the right place to do it. So yeah. Well, I guess that leaves us with our last couple of the night.
Last but not least,
India and Dell. Now, this one, 11 months. They have a 11-month child. I forgot how long they've been.
8
How long
years.
they been? 8 years. Okay, cool. He had a pre-existing marriage
And child.
Okay, here's my thing. It's a lot I want to talk about this, obviously, because they're African American. They're a black couple, and I think we can relate to this, more than anybody else,
Right.
just because a lot of the things they've been through is an ongoing process for us. First thing I want to say is that they are the clearest and easiest definition why all black people should just try trauma. Try trauma. Try therapy. Don't try trauma. We're all going through trauma, but try therapy, because they nailed it on so many different accounts. They talk about, and their whole thing is, which I wanted to kind of sum up the four of everybody, but their thing, I will say, is pre-existing trauma within the community, culture, family, and generational trauma. That's that. India trying to tote that line between being a passionate black woman and the very, very stereotypical angry black woman. Dell toting that line of, well, how can I just be a thriving black professional or an outcast immigrant that doesn't deserve to be here, and trying to find a bit of safe in order to do so. First of all, India working Broadway for Lion King, hella dope. And matter of fact, their house, they caking. Sorry to be in their pockets, but they caking, because their whole setup look dope. Just want to throw that out there. And their 11-month child is absolutely, she's precious.
Yeah, she's adorable.
It's easy. It's a lot to kind of break down this, and I want to be conscious of our time. But like, I think the first thing I want to focus on India, because I relate to her in the sense of folks not being able to decipher what's passion and what's anger. When she brought up Sandra Bland and how that made her feel, everything beyond that to me is passion. It could be anger, but it's passion because she spoke about how that made her feel, and just generating, her own personal thoughts about it. And I get that Dell was like, oh, this wasn't an appropriate time. And Dell obviously felt a little bit of traumatized about it. He could have even been embarrassed, whatever it may be. But I don't think anything that India was doing was trying to be malicious at this point. I think she was just truly speaking about something she was truly passionate about. And that toting that line about the pitch of her voice, her posture, her statue, whatever it may be, is quickly always defined into being angry. I don't think that there is much of a definition of what a passionate black person looks like. I don't think there's nothing that exists, because anything you're like, if you're excited about it, you're angry. If you're standing with your chest puffed, you're angry. And like we've been, and these things that we've been through, I don't think, and even with us going through the things that we've been through and all of the police brutality and whatnot, I don't think a lot of us really were just completely angry to the point of rage, because that's how I'm kind of quick. I think we were all angry in a bit of hopelessness. Like you get it, like you were so upset that these things were happening and you were angry, but you didn't go around punching holes in your wall. A lot of us just kind of sat back like, it's 2019, 2020, 2021. Like, this is still happening. Like, and I think when that situation got brought up about Sandra Bland, a black woman, and the statements that was made, I think she just stood up in a sense of passion, and it just quickly got blown out of wrap. Even to a point that she apologized, I think, because she said she felt like, maybe it wasn't the right place to talk about it, but it did get brought up and whatnot. And I just see so many examples of that. And like, the reason why I resonate with it is because I see plenty of black women that do it, and they always get classified as angry black women. I, even as a black male, I think like I've even been classified as being angry, but I really don't even phantom I don't phantom that feeling of being angry. It's like the traditional style of angry and anger and wanting to fight and wanting to like punch. I don't metabolize that feeling anymore. I mean, I think not only did Dell and India say that, but that's what I was trying to think about earlier. But Josh and Molly also said the same thing, where Molly kept saying like, I know Josh is angry. And then Josh was just like, I just don't understand how people can get angry. Like it just doesn't seem like
he despises it. He doesn't respect people who get angry.
There's a lot of adults, and I think almost all down the Lord, except for Ping, I think everybody understands that like being angry doesn't do anything in the world anymore. It doesn't really provide results. And I feel bad for India because that's what it seems like. Everything that she's about is about passion, but it's always classified as something else that mentally breaks her, because she's like, I can't even find a place to just want to speak about something without somebody breaking me down about it. And I thought Dale would have understood that, but he didn't. That's just kind of how I got from that bit of tidbit with her. I felt bad for her, because I'm like, she clearly, everything she talked about with Dale was about unity, teamwork, us. And we'll get to Dale in his I statements, but I think India always talked about community. And I think when you reflect in that fashion, it's clearly that you're always thinking bigger than yourself. And I think when you talk about the activism and social injustice, I think that like folks like her, who has a statue, clearly a platform, working Broadway, African American black woman on Broadway, it's a big deal, regardless of whatever show it is. I see that she's always thinking about the bigger thing. And I've seen that in so many different things that she said about like really having an issue navigating through that. Like, how do I stand up for the things I believe in without coming off and being classified as this? So that's my piece.
It's interesting that's where you went. I'm actually really shocked. So for me, just off Bucks, like listening to her talk, my first interaction with the show, and she says when they're opening, and basically she lashes out and she says, that's why I didn't want to have a baby with you, right, to Dale. And he tears up and she says, well, she feels criticized that he has another child, so she knew that she had like some catching up to do. She didn't know what to do. He makes her feel inadequate.
Yep.
And then we have Dale going into like how he was like, he never even said any of that to her, but then how he also, I guess, had a conversation with her in regards to giving up on black women. And so what I see here is classic, and it's funny because they mentioned it in the episodes. India says, well, I'm gonna curse you out, I'm gonna call you all sorts of names, I'm gonna drag you through the mud, go to sleep, wake up and make your ass pancakes, right? Classic, unfortunate, right, black interactions when it comes to family. You can dog each other out, talk bad, and then wake up the next morning and act like it didn't happen. So to me, there were so many different dynamics. The black experience, for sure, plays a extremely big part. Dale being from Guyana, that's a whole different ball game. Like I'm born from a Caribbean family, so I completely understand. And I think that they're just they're angry. They're not angry with each other though, right? There's an anger that they have as black people. And there's an anger about what's going on with their relationship and kind of just feeling misunderstood by the other person and not understanding that. So for me, India is protective. She's in like, I'm completely shelled over here. I ain't trying to get hurt. I don't know, what you even thinking about or finna say out your mouth, but let me know that I ain't the one. And so I don't think that's like, it's on purpose, but it's not on purpose. It's something that she's been doing for so long, for years, that you can't even begin to fathom how to release that moment for you, release that shield, so to speak, to have somebody come and be present and protect you. But also Dale is fighting extremely, it's so hard fighting not to be the angry black man, not to come across yelling or loud. So he's almost being slightly passive, because he's like, if I get too loud, I don't know how I feel about that. Then also going back to his family history, his dad was abusive, so he doesn't want to, he don't know if he trusts himself enough not to go there. So instead of doing that, he's now avoiding confrontation, which in itself is an issue. So I see that there's so many different things here that they both want to protect each other. They both want to love each other, but they're both afraid. And I base this relationship solely on fear. They have a fear of letting it all drop, letting their vulnerabilities show completely 110%, and then and then really like being honest and open with each other, without those things that are being shared being used later on as ammo.
Yeah. As I said, generational trauma, and like, the black family experience, well defined by you. I think we are even conditioned that, hey, your dad did this, your grandfather did this, so it's in our family. So you start to think like, is that a warning? Like, is it eventually coming? Like, what does that mean? We're brought in sort of a mindset of the lack of free liberty to be who we want to be, because it's already predetermined who we're going to be because of everything that came before us. I get genetics, I believe that. And I think that these are two people that are looking to break the chain on all of this.
Absolutely.
I think they're doing the work. Absolutely commend them, love the two of them for this, because they're they went in here about themselves, and I think India's getting exactly what she wanted to. Now the two of them become a platform of inspiration. Folks are going to see them, say, oh, we can do it. It brought them closer together. I think India is very hard on herself, and I also think that some of the things that Dale says to her is what she hears about herself. It's like that mirror projecting sort of thing. That's an extremely difficult thing that only a licensed person could come in there and try to figure that one out, because
it is. She mentioned that Dr. Ornish said that because when I believe he said something in regards to their daughter, right? She's gone 6 days because of the show. She works late when she's home for rehearsal. She's not getting until midnight. And he says, I guess he mentioned participation more with the daughter, like getting up for breakfast and things
early in the morning.
And she's like, well, I'm tired because I came in at midnight, and now I feel like a failure, and I feel like he's saying I don't do enough, and that and Dr. Ornish is like, well, I didn't even say that, like it sounds like to me that what he's saying to you already thought it, but you thinking negatively about it. So when it comes out his mouth, now it's confirmation, and you are lashing out at him when really you should be having an internal conversation with yourself. And I know for a fact that happens to a lot of people. I know it's happened to me, because my mom will say something to me, and then I'm like, what? I'm ready to pop off. and then I get off the phone with her, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, damn, I'm really super hard on myself. And imagine this: two people who have cultural trauma, right? So we got cultural trauma. We're both super hard on ourselves. Then we got to go out into the world, and then we got to put up with that bullshit. And then we got to still try to be successful on top of that and raise kids. Like, that in itself is a heavy load.
He didn't even name everything either, but yes.
Listen, that backpack alone is just like, now I'm here trying to break these generational curses. I'm in therapy, and everybody done told me, especially, Caribbean families, therapy. Like, for what? Black families, therapy. For what? You know what I mean? So, ongoing backpack.
Yeah, and truly, India is having mother's guilt, and that right there is, again, something that, like, I can't attest to, but I can recognize it, and it's extremely hard for mothers. And I know like a lot of mothers every single day wake up and do not believe that they're good enough, and that is. Now, I made a comment on another review that, like, signing up to say you want to be a mother and actually doing it is way beyond more than anybody could ever acknowledge. That commitment alone, and then you don't judge after that. There's no meter after that. There's no like, you make, $100,000, so you're a good mother, or I only made $20,000, you're a good mother. No, the moment you say you want to be a mother and you actually are present, you're a good mother. Period. That's just what it is, and I think that. Even with that acknowledgement, mother's guilt is still flying high out here because again, it's just a constant thing, and this is all the things that India are dealing with. Plus, Dell already had been married, so like it's extremely difficult for her, and I understand that. But I think the comments that Dell made about her could possibly be doing more and stuff like that. Here's my thing, and when Dell starts saying, "Well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that." This is another like, and I don't think a lot of people understand, but this is also another like the Black family experience. I think a lot of folks hear certain commentaries in their home and then they say, I cannot wait to apply that to my life. You know what I mean? How many times, and like we've seen videos. I wish I could remember this one viral video of the little kid that was saying like he was the man of the house. It's a little kid.
Oh, the little boy with when he had his shirt off and he get okay. Yeah.
Because you hear that dialogue and then and whether we are it. Yeah, exactly. Whether we condoning it, amused at it, it's still in our little sponge of a mind at the point we get older. And then we start to say these things. Well, I'm paying these bills, and this is my house. I'm the man of the house. I mean, listen, that right there is a script.
That's survival mode.
I think when he's saying these things, I think he is literally repeating what he heard his dad saying. His abusive dad.
Right.
You know what I mean? His physically abusive dad, but like, let's keep it 100. Ain't nobody physical that ain't mental. I don't think nobody's out here lifting.
But nobody sees it like that though, because I was very surprised when he said, if you remember correctly, when she asked him to, when they talk about their childhood, he goes, "Man, my dad was amazing." That's what he says. He said, "My dad was amazing." He lectured us and he told us why we were being punished or why we were being, why we were in trouble. And then it was like, well, was the lecture productive or was it ego driven?
Was it forgiveness or righteousness? And I said,
right. Was it? Yeah, exactly. So we all know 9 times out of 10, right? It's righteousness, but then goes into saying, yeah, but he was awful to my mother. And that is the separation that
I can answer this one.
I know for some people it's a thing, but is it a thing though? Because they say it, I've heard it, great dad, horrible husband. Great husband, horrible dad.
This is the epitome of America being built on rape culture. Because what is defined as being the man of the house or the good dad is these certain bit of characteristics that are glorified. And to be very candid here, and let's go back to when, I almost spent too much time on this, but like when I was younger, the idea of what it meant to be a man was like, oh, well, you got to call girls bees. You got to have the money, you got to treat them like this and that. You got to be this, and all these sorts of different things that you learn were completely out of line, degrading to women. Nothing about them valued them as people, trophies, objects, possessions. And let's also just go just a step further. Guys are glorified by the number of women that they slept with.
They have, yeah.
And then let's talk about the folks who like did that in the strategical fashion, or the folks who were privileged that did it in a way that like my statue allows me to do these things to you. You know what I mean? That's what I think he got from this. It's sad to say, but his dad was abusive and treated he recognized that now. and maybe he even recognized it as a kid. But at some extent, he probably thought my dad is the man. Cause look how he rocking out here. He got the nice car, he got the fine lady. I'm good. You know what I mean? And it's the wrong perception of generational trauma. That's just the bottom line.
I think he knew, but you as a kid, you idolize your parents. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so but you know, like there's a piece of you that's just like, this is not right. I know that much, but I am taken care of. But as a child, you don't really have too many.
I'm just gonna be clear. There's a lot of people who glorify R. Kelly, but then there's a lot of proof in the pudding for years. So
yeah.
And it was like, I always thought he was a little off. Well, what are you really trying to say? Because if you really thought it was a little off, you busy saying like, I suspect him of doing this shit a long time ago. I just didn't know it was like a thing.
I mean, but we know about things that happen like that in the Black community. So
again, rape culture, because at the time this was just like this. No, this is just how it is. That's the statement. This is how it is. This is how you do it, you know? But I just think that, and again, with some of the statements of him saying like, I did this, I did that, I don't think, and he said it, I'm not being malicious. And like you said, like Dr. Warner said, he's just trying to congratulate himself. She doesn't quite understand the dynamic here.
Well, I think that she doesn't understand the dynamic, but at the same time, it's okay for India to do the same. And I think that there's no, like, you know what I mean? So like, just because he said both can be true, you can be an amazing mom, and I took her to school the 4 days that you weren't here. That's a true statement. But I think that we have to not beat ourselves up on the inside, and then when somebody says it out their mouth, that we're now overly triggered, because damn, like, I already know I ain't doing shit that I want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm beating myself up. That's something I tell my mom all the time. Like, I'm beating myself up. I don't need you to come back and like say something that validates and or confirms me the beat up. You know what I mean? So we have to get to a place where we're okay. Giving yourself grace and forgiving yourself is a big thing in the Black community.
Absolutely.
Like, is a really big thing. So I think that that's something that they are both struggling with for sure.
Definitely in the right place for it. Here's my last closing thoughts about the two of them. You know, Dell doesn't like confrontation, whether we brought that or not, and that's obviously because in his household, well, we saw what confrontation resulted in. Abuse. And no kid wants to be hit. He thinks like, well, if I say something, then I'm gonna get my head smacked. True.
Right.
Facts. Be clear. And India made it very clear that happened in her household. So just in case you were wondering, like the two takes of the tail here. And I do like her perspective about unity and teamwork. And she's just like, well, you know, us, we, etc. And I think his eye wasn't, as he said, taking digs at her. I think he's just reading the script. And I think generational trauma or conditioning in this case. So, you know, they're going to be okay on that note. And I got to give them major props, especially India, on this notion of saying that I want to give us credit from working through the pandemic. Folks, let me tell you what that meant right there. There's a lot of folks who didn't make it through the pandemic, and I ain't talking about health. I'm talking about two folks saying that we're in the house. Yep. And we had to talk to each other. And like I said, it's been crazy, but they said that they made it through that. That means that they were putting in the work before they got here to put in the work. Hats off to them to being able to open up their mouth and communicate. That's why they came here with an open mind, open heart to make this happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just, again, it was just because I can relate to them, because I know so many Black people, they fear going to therapy and they think like, if I go there, I'm weak or I'm crazy and stuff like that. And no, two successful couple here, completely vulnerable, not just with themselves, not just with Dr. Orner, but the world, because it's on television. That's why we're able to talk about it.
Yeah.
Complete kudos to them, both of them. And I would love to see where they go beyond that. I might have to kind of look them up on social media.
Me too. I think for me, my last point for them would be what they ended on, which is beautiful. Beautiful. No more. I want people to listen to me really closely. For any relationship, no more rehashing that old shit. Let that shit go. Let it go. Okay. I think That is one of the biggest things. I can't speak for other relationships because I haven't been in any. Well, one, but for Black people, yeah, man, we be bringing up old shit, and it's ridiculous because, again, it goes back to the grace and forgiveness. Chill. Like, if that shit didn't kill you, like, and I'm not saying like it's like literally what I'm saying is if it's not something that you're willing to let the relationship go over, then let it go. You cannot move forward in a relationship where you're still talking about, well, last time we did, etc. No, it's not healthy. It's like literally the opposite of I want my marriage or my relationship to thrive. It's the opposite of that. So I love that they acknowledged it, that they were able to say this is something that we do and something we need not to do in order for our relationship and our marriage to prevail. So that's my last tidbit for them and for everybody else. No more rehashing old shit. And that goes with family. That goes with any relationship too, not just marriage.
I was just gonna bring it up too. Like, I also feel like the fact of them acknowledging it and not just being shut down, like, hey, we talked about it, not bringing it up again, but the fact that they were able to bring it up, understand what this is happening, and then leaving it in the past. Because I'm not a fan of like saying I talked about it, we talked about it, that's it. I think that understanding these type of situations from the right mindset, within the right presence, obviously with somebody, you know, licensed again, to understand what that situation mean. Because to him, you know, it was like, oh, she was being angry. To her, she's like, I'm just being passionate. Let's leave it alone. But understanding that, oh, that triggers me because of that, or that triggers me because of this, that's it, and then leave it alone. But anyway, my quick assessments for about everybody real quick. Going back to Molly and Josh, you know, putting the past behind them, because they had the decision of carrying it or leaving it behind. For them to be able to put the past behind them and then go forward the next day, I'm very proud for them to be able to do that. As we just talked about with India and Dell, breaking the cycle of generational trauma, you know, a beautiful thing. Ping and Will splitting and Cyn and Yaya, well, honesty
to be determined.
Honesty for her, but the two of them to be determined, and let's see what happens. Last thing I'm going to say before we wrap it up here, Dr. Horner did a fantastic job this season. I thought with her going to see her clinical advisor, Dr. Virginia Goldner, I love their commentary. I love how she was able to give other precise insight.
Yeah, I love the peer review.
Exactly. Also need to like check my bill because I'm sure she probably got something on my tab too for watching this. And then the peer advisory group, super important, because I got to tell you, when India and Dale got up there and she started talking about Sandra Bland, I said, oh, I can't wait to see how this one gonna play out, because you don't have the slightest clue what's happening here. Yeah. And I love the fact that she went to the peer advisory group and asked the two other Black therapists, and they brought it. I should have got their names. I didn't write their name, but those queens, they brought it. They said, listen, nah, they better challenge you, because that's what you know, that's what it needs to be. They need to, and I thought that was a therapeutic moment for everybody in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's qualified to be a therapist, but in Black trauma and that extent, that's probably not different. It's not her wheelhouse, and she had to go back and get help and advice. And I love to see that on screen the way it was. And I love that, because if they would have had Dr. Horner coming in that joint like she had knew this, I would have been like, all right, hold on now.
Yeah, no, they did a really good job with that. And I think also you can tell that Dr. Horner she was born to be a therapist. Like, her whole demeanor, her whole aura, her energy, like everything about her I'm pretty sure that she's molded herself, you know, like with her peer advisory group, and then with her own advisor, you know. So, but yeah, she incredible, and I got questions to ask from my therapist this week. So yeah,
and the dog was right. But anyway, folks, that will do it for our very extensive recap of season 3 of Couples Therapy, available now on Showtime. It's a lot to make, but do what you're doing the best. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about it. Please be respectful. for sure. And as I said in the beginning, because I just need to say it again, look, listen, we're not therapists. We're just providing commentary. Nope. We're not medical professions. These are not facts being said. These are just our commentary, reflections, opinions of it. So, but much love. Everybody be safe. And we'll see you back for more reviews very soon, folks. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Bye.
Big Go Bell.